Full display last Sunday as the Brown family, all 21 of them, starred in the premiere of TLC's new reality series, Sister Wives.
I just fell in love, and then I fell in love again, and then I fell in love again.
An astounding 2.3 million viewers tuned in to catch a glimpse into the world of 41-year-old Cody, his 4 wives, 13 children, and 3 stepchildren.
Some people think, how do you feel when he's off with another woman and you know they're having sex? Well, gosh darn it, they better.
But
what?
So, some of you have probably seen this show, others of you may not have, and some of you may be thinking, how would they even allow that on television? Well, today I'll be speaking to you about polygamy in the world that we live in today. I've watched numerous documentaries and watched a bunch of stuff on the news, and done a lot of research for a while now, just in the past years, just I'm so interested in this. And I feel like I can give you somewhat of a preview to what polygamy is. So today I want to explain to you what polygamy is, where it's being practiced today, and some of the dangers of this old practice. The first thing I'd like you to know about is what it is, so what the definition of it is. To avoid bias, I went on definition.com so that there wouldn't be any opinions in there at all. And polygamy is the condition of having more than one spouse at a time. So there's 2 different terms depending on whether it's more than one woman or more than one man. And polyandry is the term to describe the union involving more than one man. And polygyny is the term to describe the union with more than one woman. It's illegal to be married to more than one person here in the U.S. And it's been this way since the court case of Reynolds versus the United States. And this made plural marriages a felony. And this took place in the 1800s. The main purpose of polygamy is procreation, so this concept is still being practiced today around the world. Most people think of Mormons when they hear polygamy, and this is a misconception because Mormons aren't the only ones that practice it, and more so traditional Mormons don't like being misrepresented by this idea of polygamy. Some of them have already stopped doing that, and most of the people that do practice it that are Mormon or within the Mormon region are FLDS, and those are the fundamentalist Latter-day Saints. And it's not only practiced in the U.S. I can tell you that it's also practiced in Africa, Nigeria, and the Middle East. And in Nigeria alone, you can find over 40 million people who practice polygamy, or polygamists, and there's so many that the government can't even keep track of them. And it's kind of sad because as a result of this, it's so present that most of the kids can't even tell who their father is. And most of the fathers can't even tell who their kids are because they've had so many with so many different women that they have no idea how many they've had or where they are. So that's kind of sad. In Africa, polygamy is a sign of wealth, and it assures continuation of the family. So if you're a man in Africa and you've had sex with a bunch of women and had all these kids, then you're kind of thought of as wealthy. And also, men accumulate wives as an inheritance in Africa. And so, say, your brother ends up passing away and he had 10 wives and had all these kids with this wife, or with all these wives, you would inherit that and you would become their new dad. And so now you would continue on living the legacy and keeping that alive as being their new dad and these ladies' new husband, which is kind of weird. That's a weird inheritance. There's no money. It's just you have all these wives now and all these children to take care of. I would like to show you 2 pictures now. There's one that says, "I love all my moms," and I thought this was very interesting, just thinking about what if a kid that only has one mom and one dad, what if they saw that? What would they think about it? They'd be confused, and vice versa. Obviously the kids that are being brought up in these polygamous sects think that it's okay to have all these moms. They think it's normal because they're not really shown the outside world. And the other one is a cartoon, and it says, you mean none of you took out the trash? And this says, why you rarely see a female polygamist. So I thought this was kind of funny, you know, seeing the female perspective of it, seeing how it would be different if instead of a man having multiple wives or spouses, how it would be different if there was a female with a bunch of different men, and how that would be viewed way differently in society. Now that you know what polygamy is and where in the world it's practiced, we can take a look at what dangers it poses to its followers. It helps spread pandemic diseases, which help sounds like a positive word, but it's really not. It helps spread HIV and AIDS in third world countries, and they don't have the proper resources to prevent it, and so children suffer daily from what their parents have passed on to them, and they can't really do anything about it. If the children are brought up in a polygamous sect, it's most likely that they'll indeed continue to act in polygamy and continue this spread. Polygamy also adds to the problem of overpopulation in third world countries, and seeing as to how they already need help as it is, it's really hard for them because they're overpopulating and they're not even getting the help they need. In the U.S., polygamy is looked down upon due to the fact that some of the sister wives are marrying men that are way older than them, and some of them are too young for the men. Numerous television shows have been conducted, and they depict these so quote-unquote child brides, and these girls that are like 15 and are marrying a guy that's old enough to be their dad and are like 45 or in their 50s, and some outsiders, as they would call us, think that that's wrong because, you know, as a 15-year-old girl, you don't want to be having 4 kids when you're 15. That's kind of crazy, but it's a positive if you're living in a polygamous sect. And many children living in these polygamous sects are taught that the outsiders, or the people that aren't living in their sect, that would be us, are of Satan, and they're also not taught about what goes on outside, so they're kind of oblivious as to what we're doing. And they're not shown TV or the news, they don't know what's going on in the world, it's more so about what's going on in their community and what they're doing. So they basically get brainwashed. And some of them will occasionally escape, and they find that they enjoy living out of the sect way better than they enjoy living in it, and sometimes they'll be excommunicated for that. And so at times you have fathers who are excommunicated and leave their families behind, and now some new man comes and takes over, and it just turns into drama and chaos. So today I've shared with you what polygamy is, places around the world that it's practiced, and some of the dangers of it. As you're now aware of all of this, I hope that you have a better understanding of what polygamy is, and don't generalize and think that polygamists are white Mormon men with a bunch of wives. Thank you.
So, Joy, what did you think?
I thought it was a really good speech. Like, the way she presented it was very clear and concise. And it was like admired that she gave really good information on the topic. I liked her visuals.
Okay. All right, well, there are a lot of things in the speech that are very good. I thought that you did a nice job speaking to the audience. It's extremely well organized. You have good transitions. There's an excellent summary at the end of the speech that reminds us what the point was. I'm not sure that the video clip works as well as an attention device as it could if you had some setup of the clip. Something that shows us that your speech has actually started and that this is part of the speech. It could even be some phrase like, I want to share with you something that I ran across on television a couple of weeks ago, and holy criminy, you got to see this to believe it, or something, just something so that you're speaking. We know that the speech has started because it always feels a little awkward when the video clip is given and it starts before the speech. So it's just a little bit of awkwardness. The only things about the presentation that I had a problem with, you got that big page that you're holding in your hand while you're speaking, and you have a tendency to keep your hand in your pocket while you're talking, and that looks a little bit awkward. You start off well with the definitions. You had some factual data that you used from the report that you're talking about. I didn't think you were consistent in citing that information in the rest of the speech. All that cultural information about the African polygamist practices needs some source citation. Let me stop for just